and welcome to our new and exciting Baltic podcast, Technically Speaking. This is a show where we'll be unpacking the ever-growing areas of the tech industry and bringing you expert advice and insight to tackle your career. Now, to kick things off on this podcast journey, we have the fantastic Laura with us. Yes, Laura, we're so excited to have you here with us for this podcast episode for unpacking all things social media marketing. But just before we get into things, we would love for you to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Laura. I am the founder of After Hours Social. So we are a digital marketing and consultancy agency. We're based in Teesside, but we do a lot of the Northeast. So that's me.
Amazing. It's so great to have you here with us, Laura. We're so excited to dive into all things social media marketing, but it wouldn't be a Baltic podcast if we didn't dive in with a bit of a Baltic super quiz. So we're going to do a bit of a this or that quiz. Are you up for it?
Hit me with it,
yeah,
obviously.
Okay. So we're just going to jump straight into it. So for a holiday adventure or relaxation?
Relaxation.
Galaxy or Cadbury's chocolate?
Oh, Galaxy.
Starbucks or Costa? Now, we do have a Costa on the table right now.
I am a Starbucks girl at heart, though. I'm not going to
I'm
lie.
also a Starbucks gal. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
That's a good choice. Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Okay. Netflix or Amazon Prime?
Oh, Netflix.
Oh, okay. Pepsi or Coca-Cola?
Pepsi. Specifically, though, Pepsi Max.
Right. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Good one. Good choice. Instagram or TikTok?
TikTok.
Good shout. LinkedIn or Twitter for B2B marketing?
Oh, LinkedIn. I love my LinkedIn so much.
I love a bit of LinkedIn. Instagram or TikTok for influencer campaigns?
TikTok.
Yeah. Yes or no, do you like the new addition to Instagram Threads?
Not particularly.
No, not a fan?
No.
Okay. Yes or no to ChatGPT?
Depends.
Depends
That's
what
a
you're doing.
complicated
Yeah,
one. It really just depends.
That's fair. That is fair. Facebook ads or Google ads?
Facebook ads.
Yeah, good shout.
Mainly just because I like them.
Well, everyone has a preference, really, don't they? So, okay, so let's start at the beginning. So, what did you do before starting your company? Tell us a bit about where you're from, what you do, what you did previously.
So I have basically, long story short, so I went into digital marketing in 2021.
Yeah.
Before that, I worked in fast food.
Okay.
And then I went on to be a marketing apprentice. So I used to train physiotherapists in America how to market the business. You know, me still doing a degree, obviously, you know, she knew everything. And then I went into a community manager role. So that was like answering DMs, you know, that sort of deal, scheduling posts. And then I went into a marketing manager role, which was my last role.
Right.
And then I quit on a whim, and here I am. But, you know, it worked out.
Yeah.
It was a big leap. I left with like half a month's wages, and that was it really. And I just thought, well, if I don't try it, I'm not going to, like, you know really what happens. Because I got to the point where I was like, you can't keep putting things off.
Yeah.
So I really, I did push myself because it wasn't something that I obviously intended to do. But, it's paid off.
Yeah.
It's going well. So
Sometimes it's good to make that leap and that jump just to go for it if it's something that you know you're passionate about.
This is the thing. Like, there was a lot of, it was a lot of self-doubt at the beginning, and I still struggle with that a lot now, especially honestly, anyone on my LinkedIn will know imposter syndrome is a huge thing for me, but it's just putting it aside and
definitely.
being able to actually be you know what, I actually can do it.
Yeah, of course. I think imposter syndrome is something that a lot of people face, no matter where you are in the industry and no matter how high up you are, or if you're just starting out.
Oh yeah, totally. I know when I'd posted before, basically this is what this is how I quit, this is why this is why I did what I did.
Yeah.
The amount of messages were insane. And I thought, oh my god, people are reading what I'm putting. That sounds so silly, but I was like, oh my god, people are listening to me, this is crazy. But it was quite a shock to the system almost. It was one of those where I was just like, why are you actually reading what I'm saying? It was so strange, but it's so cute. I love talking to people. I'm quite gobby anyways.
I love that. I love that.
So cute.
So in terms of marketing, what initially drew you to the marketing industry? What is it about marketing that you love?
So this would have, we'll go back to secondary school. So it was probably when you're picking your options in school. Yeah. I really wanted to do media studies. Right. But I was one of 3 people that wanted to do it. And they were like, yeah, we won't run this just because there's no sort of interest in it. And I was like, I'm interested.
I want to
Don't
do
push
it.
me aside. So anyways, I ended up doing triple science. Like,
Right.
what a big jump. But I remember me and my best friend at the time, we used to build Instagram like accounts up, you know,
Okay.
like the 2014 Tumblr
Yeah.
days, like throwback, like with the alien shirts and stuff. We used to basically pinch posts off Tumblr and put them on Instagram. We'd build up like an aesthetic like feed and like a profile.
Yeah.
And I remember we'd get like 30 odd K and then I'd just give them away and start
Oh my
again.
goodness.
And that was all I did for like months on
Yeah.
end. And it's like the saddest thing ever. But it made my little heart happy. And
Aw.
but like I didn't know there was a whole industry and like people actually did that. Now you've got to remember I was like 12, 13 at the time. Like I wasn't thinking about how an ad was made. I was
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, that looks cool. Like, but then obviously I'd left school, you know, everyone does, finished my GCSEs and then I went into my A-levels. They were challenging,
Yeah.
like so difficult. I didn't realise the jump between GCSE and A-level, and that sounds so stupid
Yeah,
now.
it is huge.
But it really is big.
Yeah.
So then I actually did media studies. I did art and design, and then I went into psychology, which was a bit of an odd one.
Mm-hmm.
But I always really loved like psychology, and now they offer it as a GCSE. So if I
Ah.
was there, I would have done it then. But I thought I'll just give it a go. That flopped though. Like that was not for me. So I sort of flopped that A level. But the art and design and the media studies then let me get into my uni.
Yeah.
So I did public relations and digital communications at uni. Passed with a first during COVID.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's really how I got into it. I sort of fell into it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really planned. It was just sort of like didn't really have another option. So here I am.
But you love it.
But I love it. That sounds like I don't like it, but
Oh,
yeah,
that's so good.
Like I don't think I could see myself doing anything else.
Yeah.
So I think that's really sort of, suppose why I got
Yeah.
into it.
Oh, I love that. So, like you were just saying there, obviously you went to university. So everything that you learned within university, how did you then apply that into obviously what you're doing now with After Hours Social?
It was actually the other way around.
Oh, really?
So with uni, because we were at home for a lot of it, so I think I only spent my third year
Right.
and a quarter of my first year actually in uni.
Wow.
Everything else was at home, but I was working as a marketing assistant. So I learned more as a marketing assistant than I actually did during my uni. And I feel like I'm quite hands-on anyways. I need to be shown something rather than having someone sit in front of me
Yeah.
and just be like on a board, like, you know, jotted down. I need to be like walked through it and then I try it and then I try it
Yeah.
again. So I think that was like quite a big thing.
Yeah, it's good. I think that's one of the
yeah.
best ways to learn when you're learning on the job.
Yeah, and I think that's so relevant now as well, because like there's so many times you could sit and say to someone, this is how, like, you know, an engaging post for Instagram, this is how you could connect with an audience. You don't know until you actually do it yourself
Yeah.
what works and what doesn't. There's no like set way anyway. So it's just one of those where I always feel like you're going to learn more on the job than you are actually just sitting down in a classroom and someone just telling you something.
Yeah,
over and
definitely.
over.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Why don't you go through what a typical day looks like for someone working within the marketing industry, and for you as a founder of After Hours Social, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
So for me, it's typical. First thing, obviously, you wake up, you know, you get ready. My like biggest stress on the morning, and this is going to sound really bad, is knowing what I'm going to wear. Like I'm so
Same.
unprepared. Like, so typically, I'm leaving the house at about 8:00.
Right.
I'll go check in on clients. So usually like an hour travel there, an hour travel back, you know, get the playlist on.
Yeah,
It's
get the
fine.
music going.
Go in, check in. Now I make content as often as I can. We don't like obviously scheduling too far in advance,
Yeah.
because things that are working now aren't going to work in like
Exactly,
3-4
yeah.
weeks time maybe, you know. So I'm constantly like with my camera, like my camera's in the car right now because I'm going there after.
Aw.
Like so it's typically like getting my content, checking, is there anything they want from me? And we usually do a bit of an overview of everything. Now, everyone gets everything monthly anyways, because obviously we'll just send over analytics. But I don't like just saying, oh, we'll do like a monthly check-in. I don't like that. If you need me, you phone me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the separation between it. So with After Hours, it's very much like you'll have a marketing manager, but as if they work for you. So like obviously I have my boundaries. Don't phone me at 10:00, I'm probably asleep. Like, but if you text me and I'm awake, I will answer. Like, I won't put anyone off. Like, it's just one of them. And I used to hate that.
Yeah.
Like, always waiting on other people. I'm not for that. I don't like it. But obviously everyone has different things going on.
That's very true.
But typically, like, sort of dealing with clients probably until about 2:00, and then I'm on demand after that. and then it's sort of sit down, look at our socials, write blogs. I've got like 4 blogs coming, honestly. Gobby has when I get going, it's shocking. We sort out the website. We've had a bit of a revamp lately, because I realised like pink was not my way forward. Low-key regretting it because of Barbie though.
No.
But long run, felt like a nice beige was the way forward. So I've revamped all the socials and all of the website and everything. So that's been my task lately. Check in with the girl who we've just hired part-time.
I've seen that, yeah.
So we've just took Liv on. She's great. I've been with her since college, like right at the beginning. So we always knew like this was going to happen. She sort of sorts out the back end of the posts and everything. Check over Facebook ads that we've got running for some clients. Not everyone takes them, just because some people don't want to do that, and I don't think organic is dead. Yeah. So that's great. So I check them. If there's any issues, obviously phone, make changes. And then it's typically just back burner bits, like sorting contracts, that sort of the boring stuff basically on the back end. Liv gets all the fun stuff, I get the boring stuff. But that's my typical day.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So when you were just first talking about trends, how important to you, like as a business and obviously in marketing as a whole, like how important is it to jump on trends, like quite quickly? Like how long would you leave them? Like
it's totally a business thing. Like it totally depends on. It's totally a business thing. How stupid did that sound? It totally depends on your business, really. Like we have resin, like we work with resin firms, like like resin driveways. I wouldn't put them on threads. Like I know that's like a huge thing lately, but they've had a drop off of about 70%. I think Social Media Today reported. I wouldn't personally put them on there because that's not where their audience is. I think it totally depends on who your audience is. Like your perfect customer, basically. Are they going to be on there? Are they going to be looking at what you're doing? No, well, let's maybe put it on a bit of a back burner. Don't forget about it, because it's always great to have it, but just think priority onwards. That's how we always do things anyway. So I think for like trends, for example, it's totally business dependent, and it's what people want, to actually get involved in. Like I wouldn't put the resin lads with Barbie, for example, because their typical customer is like a 50-year-old male, and for me, they're not going to go see Barbie. And if they do, I applaud them. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean though.
It's very sort of independent, I guess.
That's good. Yeah. You just talking about the resin company there. Yeah. I don't know if you're allowed to say this, but I know you've worked with a few names, or you've worked for a company and then they've worked with someone.
Yeah. I'm allowed to say, don't worry.
Okay, that's good.
So we went to work with Tyson Fury, so that was a pretty cool one.
Oh, that's good.
They did his driveway. Have you seen the
wow.
pictures?
I have seen the pictures. That is so cool.
Basically, obviously, we're on audio. Yeah. For those that don't know, Tyson Fury basically had his logo put into his driveway with resin. It was a lot. There was like over 1,300 bags of resin, I think, he used. It took them like 2.5 weeks. So me and Liv had went to like get content and stuff for them, and we took like a drone. Me flying a drone, by the way, I could never be a pilot. Like that's just not gonna happen.
Over the place.
I was like nearly crashed into his house. I was like, oh my god. But that was cool. We were there for like 2 days, really, back and forth. So it was like a 2.5 hour drive there, 2.5 drive back.
Right.
He was away actually, so he was in Thailand, I think it was at the time. But Paris is so sweet. Aww. So sweet. Like she's just so like elegant. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the whole family are lovely. Like I spoke to Tyson on the phone, he was great. Everyone was so. It was just such a cool thing to do. Like when you shock yourself, and you're like, why am I at this dude's house? Like, this is so strange.
So in terms of clients, would you literally just take on anyone, or do you have a specific like area that you would like to focus on, or would you literally just take?
We always plan on niching down. Yeah. So we don't necessarily we wouldn't necessarily deny anybody, but it's whether they fit with us. Yeah. So we wouldn't, obviously, if we don't feel like we could do justice with what they want to do. Mm-hmm. We will say that, and we will say like, this is what we do, this is how we think we could help. But if you obviously want to go a different route, we'd recommend XYZ. Like we're not afraid to recommend someone else that we feel like would be able to do the job, the same if not better. Yeah. Like that's great. And I think that's such a big part in the industry as well. Like don't isolate yourself from everybody else. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, we always have a meeting with who we're potentially working with first, so it's typically like a bit of a coffee, I don't want to say date, but it's a bit of a business date, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So we do meet everybody for coffee first, go through ideas. We've met, with a few people, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
If it does, it does. It's just one of them things.
Yeah.
It's totally like, we're happy to help anybody, but we want to be able to do it right. We're not just going to take your money and run. Like, that's totally not what we're about. It's not fair. If we don't feel like something's going to work, we will just outright say that.
Yeah, that's good though. And I feel like the best way to go about that is to get to know them as people and get to know them as a business and what they're trying to achieve. And like you say, if you think you can't achieve that or you can, then it's good that you
definitely. I think it's totally like a transparency thing. Like, I hate beating around the bush. If something's going wrong, something's going wrong. Like, just say it. And we would never want to like just keep somebody on the toes for something that maybe isn't working. But obviously, everyone that we have worked with has come on board anyways.
Yeah.
So that's obviously really good for us. It's really good for them. But yeah, we wouldn't ever want to just keep somebody on the loop just for the sake.
Okay, so the next question is, from your experience and from your perspective, how important is marketing, social media marketing for a company? Why is it important to have?
I just think if you're not doing it now, it's just such an isolating thing. And just like solely be, your traditional media, like your newspapers. There's a whole different realm there now.
Yeah.
And like, my nana uses Facebook more than anything else. It's just such like, I don't want to say it's an excuse, but it's just, look, social media takes so much time.
Yeah.
And the amount of business owners that have said like, it's so time consuming, and half the time because they're not doing it right. It feels like there's no payoff, because obviously there is no payoff. They're not necessarily doing what I don't want to even say what we'd recommend, what like maybe they could be doing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time it's sort of like, we'll try it once, doesn't work, we're not going to touch it again, when really you just need to try something different. That's a big step.
Yeah, I think social media isn't just a one-hit wonder, is it?
No.
Like, you've got to keep going.
And that's the thing, like, a lot of the times, like, I know in some of my last jobs, it was very much like, how can we make this post go viral? Stop.
Yeah.
Like, just stop. You can't. It's one of those, like, keep consistent, engage with your audience. Even at the beginning, you're going to shout into a void.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality of it. If you've got a brand new page and no one really knows about it, you are essentially shouting into a void. And it's just a case of trying to get people into the void to listen back, and then obviously growing from there. But I think that it's such a, like, it's not just going to be a one-time thing. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be one of those where you just keep going. Yeah. And then it'll pay off. You'll have, a bit of a brand online, you'll have a bit of a persona online, and it's always good when brands have personality. I think, have we all seen Aldi's Twitter, by the way? Like, well, amazing. X now. But I think Aldi just kill it in terms of like actually like having a person behind a brand. And I think that's something that a lot of brands miss, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. So you've sort of covered this from this aspect anyway, but what advice would you give someone who's thinking about entering into the industry? Maybe a company is thinking about adapting their social media strategy. How would you advise someone doing that when the industry is constantly changing, like trends are constantly flying about? Like, how would you encourage someone?
I think if you're going in as a business, just try anything. You can just do and then go back and refine. That's a very big thing. Like, just get it done, and then you can go back and change it later. You can change your strategies. You can change everything. There's a whole different realm of things. And don't feel like you need to do everything at once. Yeah. Because that's a very big thing, because it's so easy to get really overwhelmed with everything. But that's just not the case. Like, you can stick to one thing. Like, I know brands like that stick to Facebook. They don't touch anything else. Like, some of our clients, like the pubs, won't touch Instagram. That's their own preference, and that's fine. If you don't want to do that, you don't want to do that. Facebook is just as good. People hate Facebook. Like, I don't know why. I love it. I love it. It might be like the 40-year-old woman in me. I don't really know.
Love it.
But like, you've got Facebook groups, you've got community groups. Like, we share all the events in like local groups that are usually full of people just arguing. Like, but it's a nice break, you know. There's like a little event on at the micro pub. It's cute. Like, come join us. Don't argue, because you won't be let in. But I just think it's just one of those. Try it, see what happens. If it fails, try something else. Just don't stop. Like, don't give up. So, like, I don't want to say so quickly, but, don't lose hope, basically. But as an individual, like, if you were going into, for example, like, if I was going into an interview, or if I was interviewing somebody, I very rarely look at qualifications. I don't, it might just be me, I don't really, not that I don't care, I like that you've done them, but I want to know what you've done.
Yeah.
And I know, like, oh, you've done the qualification. What do you do that makes you so different? So for me, I know, because I was told this when I was hired as a marketing assistant, and bearing in mind I was working at Mckeown, I had no qualifications at the time. I had my A-level and that was it. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't have necessarily put me like, oh, hire me. Like,
Yeah.
the only thing that made them give me the job was my blog at the time. Just show what you can do. Like, even if you're going out for the day, vlog it, see what happens. Like, I'm vlogging today for my TikTok.
Yeah.
I used to be so embarrassed about having a blog. And it was one of my uni assignments. And I was like, right, I've done this before. I can do it again. And I was like, I'm just going to try and see what happens. Like, just promote yourself and just do things that, I don't know, that make you stand out. And that's such a broad thing to say. But yeah, I just think try anything.
Yeah, I love that.
You don't have to share it either. Like,
no,
if
exactly.
you're a bit like nervous about it, you don't need to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Like a little secret, like one of those.
No, I love the message there though, like, don't give up, like, keep going. And I know when you were talking about like job roles and you were saying obviously like it doesn't matter what they have or haven't done. I think a lot of people these days now say like most jobs are easily taught.
Oh, definitely.
Even if you don't have those qualifications.
Yeah.
But I think learning while working is a really great way
and I think
to go about that.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, I used to be so scared to ask questions because I'd just be like, oh my God, they think I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and in reality, it was just something that just needed a bit of a refresher.
Yeah.
And I always say, no question is a stupid question. If
Exactly.
you don't know, you don't know. And that's totally fine. You'll always find out and you'll always learn and you'll get answers.
Yeah.
And that's, otherwise you're not learning. And
Exactly.
I think with every job you need to be able to learn.
It's always good to ask questions.
Yeah, definitely.
But yes. So before you came on here, Laura, we asked some of our content creator apprentices and digital marketing apprentices to see if they had any questions for yourself. And we've had a few come through. So the first one is, I'd love to know the software and tools you recommend when creating a social media campaign, as well as the overall process. Where do you find the inspiration for content? And what type of content is your personal favourite and why?
Oh my God, that's
That was
such
a
a
big
cool
question.
I love that though.
Yeah.
Like, I've never really been asked that before.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of our content in bulk in terms of ideas.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be creative 100% of the time. And if you're not feeling creative, take a walk.
Yeah.
Like, no phone, no headphones, nothing. Just walk. And you'd be so surprised. That's how I get the majority of my ideas. My dog hates me for the walks that we do. So we usually write them down in bulk. We have a shared Google Drive of every idea that under the sun that we've thought of, and whether they come to life, or whether they don't, they just don't. They'll sit in the back burner, and eventually they probably will. But we do a lot of our stuff in Google Drive, and we sort of bulk write down ideas, because usually when you've wrote one, you'll get another, and then another, and then another, and that's how we do it. And then from that, we'll pick one and focus on it, and that's how we do a lot of our content creation. In terms of ideas, when it comes to actually sorting out posts, we use Excel, Google Sheets really, and again, that's in the shared drive. Everything gets wrote down in terms of like captions, what we want on the post, and we essentially plan everything out on there, and that's how we do everything. But in terms of approvals, we'll just share the Google Drive with them, and then they can look over everything, images, videos, everything, and then the second they say it's good, we'll do our thing on our end.
Oh, that's great. That's so good. Just to go back to when you were saying at the start, like, is it so normal to have a creative block being in this industry?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Some of mine, will last me weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And it's just,
it's a normal thing.
Just one of them things.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be able to give 100% all of the time.
Yeah.
That's just a pure given. Like, you just can't do it. And as long as you've got, you're willing to, like I said, put a little bit more of a mental sort of push for yourself.
Yeah.
Like for me, again, going on walks, taking a bit of a break away from socials. And you'd be surprised how many ideas your friends and family that aren't in the industry can come up with. My boyfriend was engaged, but whatever. He's come up with ideas for us that I've just pinched and ran with. Because they obviously see a side of social that we don't see. We obviously see a lot, but they see just the consumer side of it.
Yeah,
and I'm
which is good.
I'll use your idea and I'll claim it as my own. So yeah, you'd be surprised. Just ask around and see. Most of the ideas you'll probably think, it's a bit naff that, but there's a few gems in there. So just don't segregate yourself.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get yourself down, isn't it? If you get into that mental block.
Oh,
but
yeah,
then
totally. It's really hard to pull yourself out of it as well, to be honest. Like, when you get going, like, for me, if I fixate on something, like, I'll fixate on something for ages and I won't be able to let go from it. But it's just, you know, be open. See what, if you're struggling and you're struggling for ideas, just say, oh, I'm really struggling for this. Do you think there's maybe something that could work? Just ask around.
Yeah.
You know.
It's amazing how much you could be inspired by other things, like outside in the world and stuff. But
definitely.
That's great. Another question we've had through from one of our apprentices is, any tips or tricks for increasing retention rates in videos?
So you're probably going to grab most people's attention within like the first 5 seconds.
Yeah,
First 5 to 7 seconds in a video. People, and I do partly blame TikTok for this for myself, I think short form content is such a big thing now, especially with like TikTok. And I know they've brought out longer sort of, you know, video timeframes, but really you'd move over to YouTube for stuff like that now. So I usually say a decent sort of attention grabber at the beginning, whether it's text on the screen. I really love the unbox my Amazon haul with me. Like, they're my favourite ones.
Love stuff like that.
Yeah, a decent text attention grabber or somebody just speaking, but it needs to be quick, snappy and engaging.
Yeah.
Typically asking a question and then it's a bit of a call to action, like, keep watching this video. I did not just spill the coffee. I actually didn't. I'm quite proud of myself.
That's good.
That was great for the camera though. Typically, like, you know, grabbing a bit of a call to action at the end, keep following this video to see X, Y, Z. That's how we do a lot of things for us anyways.
Yeah, I think call to actions are so important.
You can see when it works, obviously, when you put it in and then it works. And I think it's something that's quite overlooked.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but we all miss the simple things. I'm one of the worst for it, to be honest.
No, that's good though. Next question is, how can small businesses or startups with limited resources build a strong social media presence without a significant budget?
I think decent branding, you know, everyone changes the brand.
Yeah.
Like, I've changed after I was 3 times. The first one never made it out there because I was like, what am I doing? Like, it's 1:30 in the morning, stop doing this. Everyone makes changes and that's fine.
Yeah.
Just be consistent, you know. Just post everything that you're doing behind the scenes. You'd be so surprised how many people are interested in it. Literally anything that you can put online that's relevant to the brand or even involves the brand or whatever you do, just post it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, like I said, you can always post and then go back and refine. You can always do that at a later date. But if you're stalling, you're not really getting yourself anywhere.
No, it's true.
And that was something that took a lot for me to be like, oh my God, will you just post this now? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely, you know, branding online, just making sure that you're actually optimizing your profiles for the right sort of deals. So like for your Instagrams, you want to have a quick sort of username handle that's easy to type. Now that's why my last name is not in any of my social handles because I always have to spell it to people. So I was like, I'm not going to put that online. And you know, you highlight the right sort of name for your username and everything like that. And it's such quick little changes that make the world a difference.
I think there's so many brands and companies that have like transitioned and developed like their logos over time. Like not everyone's stuck with the same sort of branding.
Totally. Like some of the most iconic, like, you know, Pepsi Max, Coca-Cola, they've changed.
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid. Like, you know, you don't have to stick with something that's not working.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? And everyone evolves anyway. So it'd be like, you know, otherwise you're just stagnant, aren't you, really? Yeah. So yeah, I do, you know, just don't be afraid of trying. Don't be afraid of change.
Oh,
that would be a big
great
thing.
answer.
Yeah,
Love
thanks.
that so much. We've got another question we've also have. Next one is, how can social media marketing be used to support and enhance other digital marketing channels such as email marketing or SEO?
So for us, a lot of our social content links to the website. That helps us massively with organic traffic. We were checking that last night actually. And a lot of our social profiles, so for example, my LinkedIn does quite well for the traffic for after our socials, just because it's all I talk about, obviously. But like for email marketing, once you've got someone on your website, they'll sign up for the newsletter and then that's your email marketing there. So when it comes to socials, social is your grabber.
Yeah.
It'll transfer it to another one, hopefully, if it's engaging enough. And then from there, your website should be able to do the job to get somebody to that third step, really. But everything just, you know, it needs to flow. Same brand messaging, same brand, like, sort of visuals. and you will get people, and I know like it starts off slow for a lot of people. Like I was so wounded when I launched our website. So I was like sat on the traffic. I was like, I just hope one person actually looks
Just
at
refreshing.
this. And then I was like, oh my God, one person's looking. It was me in a different window.
Oh no.
And I was like, yeah, this was not a good idea. Like that's not it. But yeah, definitely, you know, pick away everything.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be a master at everything. Like I'm very much like jack of all trades, master of none sometimes.
Yeah.
I like to, you know, I'll give everything a go basically.
Yeah.
And there's some things that you don't know, and if you don't know them, like I said, just ask or find someone that can, you know,
Yeah.
save yourself the time. Like we do some outsourcing for videography and everything like that, just
Yeah.
because I can't do things to the same standard as someone else, because my heart lies with socials and their heart obviously lies with, you know, content creation. We can do the smaller short like sort of term bits,
Yeah.
but we'll always go to somebody else for the bigger jobs, because
Yeah.
otherwise we're just doing like essentially half a job.
That is very
So,
true.
yeah.
And I think it's good to remember as well, like massive companies that we know of, like started somewhere. They started small too.
Oh yeah,
and they
totally.
started.
You'd be surprised the amount of companies that outsource their marketing.
Yeah. This next question, I love this question, is how important is it to humanize your business when marketing on social media?
Oh, I love that.
And isn't it
That's so
good? It's a great question.
I think we went into, I think especially lockdown again was a huge thing for this.
Yeah.
I think everyone was like, I'm so sick of adverts. And then that's when I really noticed the personalisation of brands come through. The brands were trying to put an effort that there is somebody behind a screen. And I think it's always nice to be like, whoa, there is someone sat behind this, you know,
Yeah.
account, you know. And I think putting the personalisation there was such a like a good move. Like we do it a lot with ours, like for after hours. We do like, I was asking people about the Barbie movie yesterday. Again, I'm obsessed. I'm going again. It'll be great. And we got like, you know, decent response from it, because it's what people are talking about. And you know what? It gives a bit of a voice behind like, this is another Instagram post. This
Yeah.
is an Instagram post that you can scroll past in 2 seconds and no one's going to really look at you. So I just think actually putting a face behind it is so good. Like when we did the Tyson Fury stuff for the resin guys, we made sure to get pictures of the lads doing the job. Like we made sure to get videos. I laid a bit of his driveway. It was a bit of a vibe. It's good to get a bit of a laugh behind the camera.
Yeah,
anyways.
definitely.
So yeah, I do think personalisation is a huge thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you talked previously saying that you've obviously expanded your business, you've hired
Yeah.
someone else to join your team. Obviously, you know, we are an apprenticeship provider here
Yeah.
at Baltic. What are your thoughts on hiring an apprentice? Would you ever do that in the future? Would you ever hire someone like a content creator apprentice, or would you want to put an employee through an apprenticeship program?
Well, funny you say this, because as far as I'm aware, now you wouldn't think I've known Liv for years, she did a degree apprenticeship.
Oh, wow.
And she never went to, I know she never went to uni.
Yeah.
And that was like, for me, I was very much like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing, because if that was a thing, I would have done that instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, Liv actually, as far as I'm aware, did an apprenticeship.
Wow.
Which was obviously, I've seen how that's been for her, and that was such a, like, oh my God, what a change. Like like the difference in journeys between us was so crazy.
Yeah.
And I think I wouldn't say no to somebody if
Yeah.
they wanted to be put through an apprenticeship, or if they'd been through an apprenticeship. Just like I wouldn't say no to somebody that's got a degree. I always look for sort of what you've done outside of work, how
Yeah.
we think you'd fit in with the business in terms of like what we think you could do for us, just as much as what we can do for you. It's very much a developmental thing.
Yeah. I love that. So so when our learners obviously are on their apprenticeship, we're all about developing them personally and professionally on their journey within their apprenticeship. So can you recommend any books or courses or online courses that our apprentices could maybe look into to develop themselves?
There's a lot on, I believe it's called HubSpot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do like them. I've done a few of them in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
LinkedIn, I've done a few of the LinkedIn courses, but I do think you have to have premium to access them. So just use the trial
Yeah.
and turn it off. That's all I did. But there's so many companies that, you know, offer training for like cheap as chips as well. Like you'd be surprised. Like there's a lot of free courses out there. And if not, you know, YouTube is a good bet. Somebody out there will be talking about something. And again,
Yeah.
with TikTok, like the amount of brand strategists and stuff I see on TikTok, just use them. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's not a paywall there.
No.
You know, there's no harm in watching, I suppose.
Yeah. So do you think doing these kinds of additional courses would help someone enhance their career in marketing?
Oh, totally. I think in terms of like informational sort of like a background of things, and having a little bit of knowledge there is always going to be great, but you're going to develop through years to come anyways. The same things that's working now aren't going to work in 10 years. Like, this job probably wasn't even a job 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's so many jobs that don't exist right now that are going to come in, and I think especially as AI gets into it as well, there's going to be a whole bunch of jobs that just we wouldn't even think of right now.
Yeah, 100%.
And, you know, you're always going to be learning, you're always going to be finding out more, and it's just one of them.
That is very, very true. Yeah. I know you just mentioned there about AI, and obviously that's like blown up in the past year, like within so many different industries. What are your thoughts on AI and ChatGPT and that kind of stuff?
It's never going to do what you want a human to do.
Yeah.
And that was a very big thing for me. Like, I use it. I've had a bit of a scout at it.
Yeah.
I haven't paid the premium to get it. But, you know, again, back to the mental block thing. You just ask it, see what it comes up. 9 times out of 10, you'll think, oh, they're a bit naff them.
Yeah.
But, you know, they might spark something in you, and it might be something that you do want to look at.
Yeah.
I just think it can be used so well in so many ways. But I don't think it's going to take over everybody's jobs yet. And that is a big panic.
Yeah, I think everyone's freaking out a little bit.
That is a huge panic. But, it's just, you know,
I think because you can use it in different ways as well, can't you?
It can do a lot of stuff, but it's never going to be able to do what a human can do. At least I hope so, because otherwise I'm massively out of job.
But yeah, that's interesting though.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
So I know we discussed about Instagram threads. Do you use Instagram threads for your company?
Yes, right. Yeah. So we joined Instagram threads as the hype of joining Instagram threads.
I think everyone did, didn't they?
And I was just like, I went on it first personally, and I was like, let me just suss the ground out.
See what's going on.
Just see what's going on. I was one of those, I just sort of lurked in the background, sort of had a look.
See what was happening.
And then I was like, oh, I'll try it. So I made After Hours one, just because obviously it was so easy to connect your Instagram with it, which obviously was a big, like, sort of pro for a lot of people, instead of like, oh, I have to put my email in again.
Just straight in.
Like, that just wasn't like, it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So we set one up. We used it for like 2 weeks. And I was like, there's no point in this.
Yeah.
There's no point in this.
Oh, no.
I still very much use Twitter over Threads.
Yeah, and that's it's very similar though, isn't it? Like,
it was one of those, wasn't it? I think it was more of a like, I can do what you can do, but I can do it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I've never seen such a social battle turn into an actual battle before, like between apps. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I still very much use Twitter, now X, over Threads, really. And that might be quite controversial, but I know a lot of people who had joined Threads were like, it's so refreshing not to have ads. And I totally agree with that. But I know a lot of people were actually blocking businesses as well, because they were like, I just want to see my friends.
Yeah.
And I think that was such a big calling for Instagram as well. Everyone was like, I just want to see my mates.
Yeah.
I just want to see what my mates are putting. And Threads was like the closest thing we've had to that in like a long time, I think.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's been like a 70% drop in users. At least that's what's been reported. Obviously, I'm not the god of Threads, you know. But that was quite interesting to me, because I was like, oh, I'm one of those people that dropped off on like 3 accounts. Like, I'm sorry. I wouldn't say we gave it a good go, but it's so restrictive as well. Like, there was no hashtags. You couldn't add geotags, like your locations. And Shakira kept popping up on my feed. Like, you know, she's great and I love her, but like, it became like the Shakira app for me. And I was like, nah, this isn't it. I'm out. See you later.
Yeah.
But
I think it definitely had its hype when it first came out, and everyone went wild for it. And then, like you say, you have a bit of a look around and see if it works for you. And obviously, if it doesn't work for you as a business, then. Yeah. But
it's a trend.
It is a trend, yeah.
Well, if it catches on, it catches on. You know, every app probably started, obviously not as big with like 100 million billion signups, like, you know. But yeah, I think it's just one of those where see what happens. We might go back to it. I pop on it once in a while personally.
That's cool. So in terms of marketing trends, like, do you specifically look for them? Like, how do you stay up to date with new trends? How do you stay equipped with new things that are coming out in the industry? Like, do you just wait for things like Threads to come out, or like, what do you do to develop?
I think there was a bit of hype for Threads before it came out anyways. Again, with like, I've spoke to you so many times about the Barbie movie today. I'm so obsessed.
We love it.
I love it. Like the Barbie movie, we've done some bits for it, but it's not something that would focus like an entire campaign on. It's just more of a case of, if I see a few people doing it, then I'll jump on it. But I always say my TikTok is market research.
Love TikTok.
You know, it's great. So I usually do go off my TikTok and trending sounds. Obviously, you can search now for trending sounds on a morning. If you want a bit of a quick way to get a few more viewers, you can use that website. But yeah, it's just one of those where if we see it happening and we see a decent bit of engagement for it and we can apply it in the right way to people, then we'll do it. But if we're just doing it for the sake of doing it, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. So just to finish up, Laura, it's been an absolute privilege to have you come onto this podcast and talk about all things social media marketing and to hear all about your experience in the industry. Just before we finish up, is there one piece of advice or wisdom and encouragement that you could give our listeners before we close up?
I think just start. And, you know, you're never going to be too late to start either. And that's such a big panic. Like, oh, TikTok's so like mass produced, everybody's on there, it's oversaturated. It's not.
Yeah.
You know, just give it a go.
Yeah.
Try anything and just see what you can make of it, I guess.
Yeah, I love that so much. The perfect piece of wisdom to finish up this podcast. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Before we say goodbye, remember to hit that subscribe button so you can catch all of our upcoming episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or check out our full videos on YouTube or Vimeo. Don't forget to stay connected as well by following us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook and TikTok at Baltic Apprenticeships for updates and announcements about upcoming episodes. Why not share your thoughts? Your questions and suggestions are always welcome, as we're always looking to bring you topics and guests that matter to you. Feel free to reach out to us at yourfuture@balticapprenticeships.com. Thanks for listening.